Well, good morning, everyone. It's Thursday and it's April 1st, April Fool's Day. I want to assure you, nothing of what we're saying today is April Fool's. It's truth because it's from God's Word. So there is no fooling. These things are amazing that we'll see today in Revelation chapter 12. If you have your Bible, grab it. I hope you've read this chapter in advance, and asking you to do that. Well, next Monday, actually, we're going to get into Revelation chapter 13. I say Monday because tomorrow we have a very special Easter show that I'm so excited about. It's going to be a blessing to me, and I know it will be for you also. So don't miss tomorrow's Good Friday / Easter show. It's very worshipful. So that's what I'm going to tell you. But today we are in Revelation chapter 12. We're continuing on. We just yesterday heard about the seventh trumpet sounding. Chapter 12 actually does not move the chronological happenings along. It actually is kind of like a parenthesis, and everything that happens during these 3.5 years of the Great Tribulation. So it actually introduces 4 personages or people. Well, no, it's not people necessarily, it's personages. The first one is the woman. And the woman, well, we'll read that in just a second. Think of her as Israel. It says, well, actually, let's just start reading. I'll give you those. And as we come to the 4 people, the personages in this, I'll explain why they are what they are and what God is trying to let us know about. It's pretty clear, actually. Chapter 12, verse 1. A great and wondrous sign. Note that word sign. Some have said symbol is another. Some translations actually use wonder, but sign is really a very good translation. Appeared in heaven, a woman clothed with the sun, with the moon under her feet and a crown of 12 stars on her head. She was pregnant and cried out in pain as she was about to give birth. So we know that when you compare Genesis chapter 37, verses 9 through 11, this is exactly the wording that's called of Jacob and Rachel. And Jacob and Rachel, of course, had the 12 sons, and they became the 12 tribes of Israel. So it's very clear that this is the redeemed Israel that the earlier chapter in Revelation talked about, of which the 144,000 were a part of that. So the child, he's going to be talking about Israel here and what's going to happen to her. Verse 3, then another sign appeared in heaven, an enormous red dragon with 7 heads and 10 horns and 7 crowns on his head. His tail swept 1/3 of the stars out of the earth. The dragon stood in front of the woman who was about to give birth so that he might devour her child the moment it was born. Who do you think that red dragon might be? It's Satan. Clearly, it's Satan, and he has it in for Israel, always has. He's called the red dragon because probably it's very symbolic of bloodshed that he's bringing to the whole earth during this time. And it does say, that he had 7 heads and 10 horns, really talking about the world domination during this time of the tribulation. He is given rule over the world by God. He's allowed to do that. But he wasn't allowed to cause havoc, even though he is the accuser. He wasn't allowed to, as you saw, he was, well, you'll see what happens to him. Anyway, verse 5. She gave birth to a son, a male child, who will rule all the nations with an iron scepter. Of course, that was Jesus. Israel brought forth Jesus. He was Jewish. And he will rule the nations, starting within a few years of this happening, because at the end of the tribulation, he sets up his 1,000-year reign on earth. Her child was snatched up to God, to his throne, basically the ascension. Satan couldn't touch him. The woman fled into the desert to a place prepared for her by God where she might be taken of for 1,260 days, or 3.5 years. And there was war in heaven. Michael, that's another of these personages, Michael, the great archangel, and his angels fought against the dragon, and the dragon and his angels fought back. War in heaven. But he was not strong enough, and they lost their place in heaven. And the great dragon was hurled down, the ancient serpent. In fact, it's tell us there, he was called the devil, or Satan, and he leads the whole world astray. And he is hurled to earth, and his angels with him. So this is really talking about the great cosmic battle. Jesus obviously has defeated Satan. It just hasn't, the final chapter hasn't taken place. It's in here, and we'll read about it, but it hasn't taken place at that time. And then some worship and so forth, and some really good stuff of interest. You might read all the rest of that chapter. But verse 15, let's jump ahead to there. And then from his mouth the serpent spewed water like a river to overtake the woman, that is Israel. Like a river to overtake the woman, and swept her away with the torrent. Satan never gives up on trying to kill Israel. 16, but the earth helped the woman by opening its mouth and swallowing the river that the dragon had spewed out of its mouth. No way God is going to allow Satan to defeat and destroy and wipe out Israel. It's not going to happen. The dragon was enraged at the woman and went off to make war against the rest of her offspring, those who obey God's commandments and hold to the testimony of Jesus. So basically, he gives up on trying to destroy Israel and goes back to the attack on all the rest of God's children, namely the followers of Jesus. Now remember, we're not on earth if you're watching this when I originally record it. But there will be a number of people who turn to Jesus during the tribulation time. And he's going back to either killing them or making life extremely miserable for the rest of the followers of Jesus. That's what he does. That's what Satan's goal in his life is. It's just it's sad that he allowed pride to stand between he and the Lord. And so when his angels which were mentioned a couple times, like in verse 9, remember, those angels are fallen angels, just like Satan himself. And those angels are now called in the Bible demons. Demons are fallen angels. And there's a great number of them. We don't know. The Bible never says how many there are. It seems from a couple of passages that it was a third of the angels. Even in this passage, a third of them were swept away. And so people think that it was a third of the angels, but we don't know how many that is. But man, these are exciting times that we're reading about. It's a cause of prayer. It's a cause to make sure that your name is in the Lamb's Book of Life and we don't have to go through these things. Well, like I say, tomorrow is a wonderful Easter show. We need the uplifting good news of Jesus rising from the dead, conquering death, which means that's in our future also. So I'll see you tomorrow. Read chapter 13 by Monday if you can. It'll help you understand it. And we'll see you back. See you back tomorrow. God bless. Have a great day. Beautiful day. It's wonderful. This is the day that the